players, and so we're actually going to listen in on Coach Willie Green right now. I will stop talking and take it away, Coach.
Good morning to everybody. Thank you guys for being here. Per usual, I am super excited about the opportunity to represent this organization. I'm grateful to be under the leadership of Ms. Benson and the addition of Joe D, which you guys spoke to him yesterday. And we're all eager to with our team to get on the floor, with our coaching staff, to get going tomorrow. Training camp starts tomorrow, so we're all excited about that. And with that, open it up for questions.
Joe talked about yesterday just the amount of time that y'all spent together this summer, kind of figuring out how you want this team to look. And what's it been like just kind of developing that relationship and getting to know him and figure out his vision?
It's been great. We've already had a rapport from my time growing up in Detroit, obviously watching him win championships and represent that city well, even going into the NBA. So that rapport has, helped, kind of give us a boost, so to speak. And, he's right. We just continue to talk every day, talk about, what the team should look like, continue to bounce ideas off each other, and it's been great so far.
What have you kind of liked about what you heard from him, the message he's trying to instill?
It's really aligned with my thinking as well. To put a competitive team on the floor, for guys to continue to work hard and every day show up and put forth the effort to hold each other accountable. And so those are the things that I've always spoken about, and it's great to align with Joe D, and he's thinking the same way.
Does he have a different kind of leadership style than Griff did? And what are some of the main differences between the two you've seen so far, if any?
Yeah, I think, all leaders are going to lead a little differently. And, the thing that I love about Joe D is I can pop in his office. We continue to have open discussions. Our streamline of communication has been really good. And he's been a leader everywhere he's gone. You look at him in college, you look at him in the NBA, in the NBA front office. And so for me, it's really about an opportunity to learn from him, to continue to grow as a coach. And he's been extremely helpful thus far in that.
Willie, in past years, you've talked about how you've dissected over the summer
Previous seasons.
Yeah.
So how did you look at last season? How did you spend this summer? What do you think about it?
Yeah, last season was definitely a difficult season, with all the injuries, the losses, and it left a bad taste in our mouths, so to speak. So the first thing I do is try to evaluate myself, try to hold myself accountable to what some things that I could have done better. What's some things that we did do well, try to continue to do those. The biggest thing is when you go through a season like that is, continue to be disciplined, continue to walk into the gym, practice court, and be consistent. But the improvement for me is continue to communicate with my players as I go through different situations, communicating with front office, and keep the streamline of communication open. But then realizing that everybody on your team is extremely important. So the development piece will be important as we move forward.
Joe's modified the roster pretty significantly in a short period of time.
Yeah.
How does the collection that y'all have now fit with what you've been wanting to build here for a while?
I like our roster. I like the guys that we've added, adding Sadiq Bey, Jordan Poole, being able to acquire Looney, along with, our rookies who've been here for a while this summer. So it's a combination of, guys that are still young but are veterans, and then, we got some young first-year players as well that will be instrumental in our success. So I like the group. We just got to get on the floor and continue to work and then go from there.
Specifically to the veterans, especially like
Looney and Poole, who have won NBA championships,
Yeah.
like how valuable do you think that will be to the locker room?
It's extremely valuable. I had the pleasure and opportunity to coach Looney in Golden State for 3 seasons. So I've watched his growth from being a sort of a rookie coming in and, developing into a consummate pro. His approach to the game, learning from other guys. He learned from Draymond. He learned from Iguodala. He learned from David West and Steph Curry and Clay. And now he can step into that role for our group as a guy that he can step on the floor and help you, but he'll also mentor some of our younger bigs, some of our younger players on how to do it the right way. Same thing with Jordan Poole. Those guys have done it at an extremely high level. They've won championships. And so when you have guys like that on your team, it's really helpful for the whole group.
And when Joe talked about his conversations with Zion and being accountable and responsible, have you had those conversations with him as well? And if so, how they kind of thing?
Yeah, for sure. We've both been aligned with that communication with Z. Number one, I think, just from watching him, he's done a really good job of, getting himself ready to play this season. And so that's something that, I want to commend him for. But the accountability and responsibility part for Zion, especially stepping into this role, it's going to be important for him. And I think Joe D kind of touched on that, but that's for all of our players, but definitely it's going to be huge for him.
Do you think the fact that Joe played in the league, does that kind of help get that message across better, maybe?
It does. It does. He's done it. There's no way to go around him with that. He's done it at an extremely high level, and he's had multiple roles in the NBA. So he knows when he sees something. He knows when something's going right. He knows when we need to make some adjustments.
A lot of times, rookies take a few months or a while to become impactful at the NBA level. So, as a coach, how do you balance giving them the runway they need to also grow and fail, but also winning the game in front of you, like on a night-to-night basis?
Yeah, I think it's just that. It is a balance. It's a balance of allowing them to be on the floor and play through a few mistakes. I think they have to do that. That's how young players are able to grow. It's also a balance of when to kind of pull them out of games or, talk to them during practice and teach moments and then get them back in. And that's the balance with rookies. That's the balance with younger players as they become, as they get more experience in the NBA.
You've got some older teams when you've been here. Of course, this team is probably closer to that first team you had with the amount of young guys on the roster. Does that kind of change your approach when you have more younger players, more unproven guys on the roster, and knowing you'll have some of those veteran voices like CJ or B.I., some of the guys you've been able to lean on in the past?
I think the standard is the standard. No matter who you have on your team, who we have, we want to step out on the floor right away and establish that. Being a good defensive team will be important. Being able to play with space and speed, but ultimately it's the accountability of going out each and every night and competing at a high level.
Coach, when you say the standard's the standard, is there a number on that? Is it 40 wins? Is it 50 wins? What does the standard look like to you?
Again, I know Joe spoke to you guys yesterday about this, but our mindset going into the season is competing, and if we look back at last season and how we can improve, that's the number one step for us, is moving forward to being a competitive team. Our guys having fun doing it, supporting each other. We believe when we do that, the wins will take care of itself.
Hey, Coach, what have you seen from Herb and from Trey in their recoveries, and what are reasonable expectations for them this season?
I like what I've seen from both guys. They did a fantastic job of attacking their rehab all summer. They're cleared to go, so they're back on the floor playing 5-on-5, bumping and getting up and down the floor, getting a feel for their bodies. They're going to be huge for us this season. And, having guys like Trey and Herb, the character that they bring to our team, the leadership that they bring to our team, they're really pillars of our group, and we're going to rely heavily on them.
Trey made a big jump last year, with more opportunities on the ball.
Yeah.
What are your expectations from him this year as he kind of steps into that role full time?
I think the beauty in Trey is he has a personality that he wants it. Like, he wants more opportunities to showcase his skill set. And we'll do our best, as we always do, to try to put him in positions to be successful. I love the fact that he has a combination of all. He can play a little off the ball. He's a great cutter, great finisher. We know that he shoots the ball at an extremely high level, so he can attack closeouts. And then we started to see him play in a little bit more pick and roll situations, handling the ball, bringing it up the floor. And so as long as he continues to work like he does, sky's the limit. I really believe that.
Coach, you got 2 first-round rookies. Can you talk about, they seem to have big personalities. They seem ultra competitive. Can you talk about where you feel like they are fitting, where they're going to fit right away with this team?
Well, the first fit is the character piece, in both Derek Queen and Jeremiah Fierce. Extremely, great young men, and that's what we're always seeking. And then the competitive piece, watching them, from the draft process to summer league to now being able to play in the summer. Once we've gotten back here in August, at least with Jeremiah, they're both ultra competitors. I think for our group, that's what we want to have. We want to have guys that step on the floor every night, every practice, every shoot around, every film session, and they're bringing it. And those 2 guys, they exemplify that.
Outside of Derek and DeJounte, is there anyone limited heading into camp?
No, not at this moment. No, just those 2 guys.
And with DeJounte ailing, Jeremiah Pierce being a rookie, lots going to be put on Jordan Poole's shoulders. Have you had discussions about that with him this season, what he should expect?
For sure. He and I have been having some text messages, some talks lately about what's expected. But he understands that. He's a guy that, you look at his path in Golden State, probably wasn't playing a lot his first season, more playing time, become a champion, a lot on his shoulders in Washington. So we believe we're getting Jordan at just the right opportunity, just the right time in his career. And he's a guy that wants it, works extremely hard. He's in the gym night in and night out. And so, it's still going to be a collective effort. We'll need some guys to step up, but it's going to be collectively. It won't be just one guy that is going to carry the load.
Kind of going off that, Jordan's a guy who his career's taken, a couple different turns. He's in Golden State.
Yeah.
They don't win that title without him. He gets a max contract and then traded. Now just trying to kind of, find his next place and kind of bounce back from that, I guess. Have you kind of talked to him at all about his path at all and what he's trying to achieve here, and what have those conversations been like?
Yeah, we have. We've had some good discussions about that. He's excited, man. He's excited about the talent that he gets to play with. He's excited about the character in our locker room. He knows that this is a great opportunity for himself, and he's about winning. That's the biggest thing about him. He's a worker. He's about winning. He has a winning attitude, and he's another one of our players that is high character, hard worker, competitor. So we're looking forward to it.
And when looking at this trip to Australia, this team,
we're excited about it. It's a long flight, but once you get past that and once you get on ground, we're excited to engage with the fans there. I think this is a really good time for team building, for bonding with our group. So we'll spend a lot of time together in Australia. Yeah.
Hawkins, just where he is timeline-wise, contractually and everything. What is a reasonable pathway for him to take the next step this coming season?
Well, I think he was trending in the right direction. He had some injuries last season that kind of hurt him, but we all play an intricate role in wanting to see him do well, and it's my responsibility, along with my staff, to try to put him in situations that give him an opportunity to be at his best. He is a hooper. He loves to play. He's another hard worker. He's been in the weight room this summer, kind of, putting on some pounds. So he's eager to get on the floor. It's going to be a good year for him. We anticipate and having some good discussions with him about just going out, playing hard, playing free, being competitive. And when he's playing like that, he's very dangerous.
He put up some big numbers last year, despite being on a minutes restriction, a big chunk of it. What do you like about how he finished last season, and how are you looking on him to build on that going into this season?
Yeah, well, to your point, he finished the season strong with his playmaking ability. His conditioning was at a high level, and we just want to see more of that. We want to see him be consistent in that role. The ball in his hands, attacking, finding his teammates. I thought he took a huge step forward defensively, and that's going to be required for all of our guys. So just continue along that process, be consistent with it.
Bringing in a veteran like Von Mooney, who's a champion in the league, how can that help develop Eve Easy in his second year in the league coming in this season?
Well, the fact that Eve is going to watch Loon in practice, he's going to be watching him in the weight room, watch his approach. When you have good examples in front of you in any capacity, you take hold of that. And I've watched Loon already. Obviously, I was with him early in his career. He's talking a lot, way more than he used to. And so he's pouring into some of our young guys already. He'll take a few bigs down to the basket. They'll work on things. I think it's huge growth for Eves and Carlo.
You've had some turnover on your staff. What can you tell us about the additions that you've made to your coaching staff?
Yeah, we've added Mike Hopkins, former Syracuse assistant, head coach at UW, and then he came over from the Phoenix Suns. So great energy, really knowledgeable, a ton of experience. We're excited to have him. We elevated Greg Monroe to a full-time kind of player development, assistant coach player development role. He's another guy that, again, had a really good NBA career. We believe that helps our group when we have coaches that have played the game that are now transitioning to coaching, because they can see the game from a sort of a different lens, if that makes sense. And so he's really been key with helping our bigs.
With Zion between the end of last season and now, are there any specific things you've seen that you could cite or highlight that might illustrate the next step in his evolution as both a player and a professional? Anything different that you saw about him in that period?
I saw his work this summer, his attention to his body, his conditioning. He understands that he wants to be available for his teammates, and when he's available, when he can step out on the floor and be accountable to that, he's one of the best players in the NBA. And so that's something that I saw this summer that he's working towards.
I'm sure you have an idea of what this team is going to look like when all the pieces come together, but what are you looking for out of training camp and actually seeing how they fit?
We have an idea. You always walk in with an idea of how you want to play. But just from my experience, your team also teaches you, what works, what doesn't work. And for me, it's quickly understanding that, identifying what our guys are great at doing, what doesn't work. We'll go away from some of those things. But, our main principles will be the same. We'll be a team that competes on the defensive end. We want to be a team that rebounds the ball on both ends of the floor. We want to play fast and share the basketball, have fun doing it. And I think when we keep those concepts in mind, that always is helpful.
Speaking of playing fast, what kind of traits in Jordan Poole's game do you think can add to this offense?
Well, he's learned from one of the best, and that's Steph Curry. He's learned from Klay Thompson and Andre Iguodala, and so he brings that level of competition, but also the speed in which he plays in. He can get going pretty quickly, and so his ability to shoot the ball, drive, finish at the basket, competing on the defensive end. He understands what championship level basketball looks like. So he's going to bring that to our team right away. And having him on the floor with Trey and Jordan Hawkins at times, with Zion, I think can be some matchup problems for teams.
Coach, correct me if I'm wrong, but in 2006, did y'all play with the Sixers? Did y'all play in Europe?
We did.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so you talked about that bonding experience, going to Australia and stuff like that. How was that for y'all in 2006 and everything like that as a team in terms of building that chemistry?
I got to think back to 2006. That was a while ago. You're making me feel old. But I've had a number of these experiences with teams that we take a trip to a different country, and I think it's always great to just spend time with your teammates. You eat dinner together, you go into practices, you're just having fun, learning about each other, and a lot of times you come out of those trips, with a better understanding for each other off the floor. And that helps you, during the highs and lows of a long NBA season.
Willie, most teams that add 2 lottery picks usually are considered rebuilding teams, but as we know, that's not the case here. How do you expect to navigate that situation, trying to get those guys acclimated, but get them a decent amount of time, development, and run?
Yeah, I think we have a tremendous staff in place. We all collectively work together to, continue to look at our team, look at our young guys, and again, it comes down to the balance of it. What's the balance in making sure our guys are growing, getting opportunities to play on the floor. They got to earn it. That's a big part of it. They got to earn the opportunity, to earn the right to step on the floor and compete. And then at the same time, how do I allow them to make mistakes and play through them? That'll be important for our group. How do I, sometimes I got to pull guys, talk to them, teach them, and then get them back on the floor. And so that's the balance for the coaching staff and I. That's the balance for our front office that, we continue to have talks about.
Coach, Jody Mars referenced the Oklahoma City Thunder. You're your own coach with your own team, but there are some parallels. Small market, young team, young coach, with a very clear superstar. Is there anything about watching their journey in the playoffs yesterday that made you kind of go, that's what we want to shoot for? Obviously, do it your own way, but is there anything about that journey that you thought, that's kind of where I want to go with this?
It is. It's definitely something that you watch their team, and you can't help but to try to pull some nuances, some concepts that you want to apply to your group. I think it started with their connectivity. If you watch them, we all joked about their interviews, but those guys were together every time you look. They're together in commercials, they're together on the floor, they're celebrating. That camaraderie, I believe, allows them to have each other's backs and support each other on the floor when it's game time. They were one of the best historically defensive teams that we've seen. So again, that connectivity on the defensive end, to look to the left, look to the right, and know that your brother's there. And so there's some similarities with, how they built their team and where we are now, and we definitely we'll pull a few concepts, but again, we want to establish our own identity as well.
Last year, the team struggled a little bit on the defensive glass. Sometimes there's going to be units that are less strong in that area that you have to put out there for offense or for spacing for whatever reason. Just how can you bridge the gap when it comes to the possession battle if you're not able to be like a top 5 defensive rebounding team, or just that unit isn't that particularly strong at it?
Yeah, it's just work at it. We definitely identified last season that we were getting stops and teams were getting second chance opportunities on us. So identifying the issue, and then the solution is continue to watch it, continue to teach it, go on the floor, and let's continue to work on it. Let's look at groups. We have to continue to look at which groups are better at rebounding, better at finishing possessions, and how can we stay extremely competitive on that side of the ball.
One of the big talking points in the finals was, or just throughout the playoffs, was how far teams are pressing ball handlers, after they inbound the ball after a made basket. Just, I know you guys have traditionally been a team without a pretty high pickup point, but is there an even greater emphasis on that, this season, especially, as Joe talked about yesterday, you obviously want to play 10, 11, 12 deep, kind of throwing bodies at people, pressing them throughout the game.
Yeah, there's definitely an emphasis on being a team that picks up 94 feet. We believe that, not allowing teams to play comfortable, not allowing them to bring the ball down the floor and get into their offense, and then more importantly, they get to several different options of their offense for the teams that don't pressure. So it's something that we're always looking at. We're looking at opportunities that, we can be really aggressive in those moments. And, when you have a deep team, you can continue to put pressure on the ball.
All right, thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you. Thank you all.